Okay. Well, Kyle. Well, first of all, let's start. How did you meet Michael?
Hey Steve, so man, I met Michael really not long ago, back in May. He was in town where I live here in Tampa, and he flew his pastor over here for a church conference, and he had some time to kill. And I met up with him. I met him at a Starbucks. Uh, him and his son, and man, we just hit it off. He saw like a picture on my desktop of an airplane, and we just started talking. And we soon found out like more about each other. We both play saxophone. We both had like similar passions and just like loved, airplanes and saxophone. And yeah, man, it was a great moment. It's like when you meet someone and you're like, man, this guy is special, and he's this is the guy I want in my life, like in some capacity. Um it's pretty awesome, man, the first time I met him. And he ended up coming to my gig that night. We hung out the whole night while I was playing saxophone, and we talked about music. We talked about his whole story, his walk with God, piloting. Man, it was special. And then the next day we went up flying. So, and that was one of my favorite flights so far in my piloting experience.
So, well, first of all, Kyle, what got you into flying out of all things?
Well, for me it was my dad. He was always scared to fly and stuff, and he really it's something that was stuck with me. That he was into it, but just kind of too scared to do it. And I hope that one of Michael's kids can follow in his footsteps, and become a great pilot, just like Michael was. He was a tremendous pilot. The flight I did with him, like, I was really really impressed with like his skills, and how well he knew his airplane. So he's a great pilot, man.
Yeah. What was it like being in the cockpit with him?
It was great. He had a great attitude. He was happy to be flying. He loved it. Um, he had a huge passion for it. Um, he's like one of those pilots that when you're up there, you're enjoying yourself, and that's like the best kind of place to be. Is to kind of just be lighthearted about it. Of course, he's focused on everything going on, and stuff, and he's amazing skill. But his demeanor was real light, real fun. Made it really, really an amazing flight for me that time I went up with him.
Like myself, who are not pilots, can you describe the feeling of being a pilot when you're up in the air, when you're flying? What is that like?
It's amazing, man. It really is like it's truly, a gift from God to be able to fly. I didn't realize it till like a little bit later here in my life, but some people realize it real early on. And Michael definitely, I could tell that he was into that, into being up there, man. It was like his second home, it seemed.
Take me back to this weekend when you heard about the crash itself. Um, how did you learn about it and the impact?
I was working on just doing some computer work, and on a Facebook group that I'm part of, Airplanes and Coffee. I Someone posted that there's a King Air C90 down in the Fort Worth area, and you know, I I don't know many pilots across the country, but I knew a guy named Michael who had a King Air C90 in Fort Worth. And it was sad because I was like, there's no way. And then we looked up the ADSB tracking data, and it was his tail number, and that was a big shocker. And I was just like, instantly my heart sank, and I just felt so horrible for everyone involved, him, and I just feel for his family. I haven't met all of them yet, and hope to connect with them. But man, that moment was tough, and it's just like it's just crazy because he made a big impression on me when I first met him. Like, he had a lot of qualities that I would want to express when I get older. as like, as a growing man. He was, very faith centered, very about his family, hardworking, businessman, software developer, and really passionate about his business and his family and God. So he made a big impact on me, and that I think, just that impact he had on me, and connecting that with the tail number of his aircraft, being involved in the accident was just like was shocking.
For those of us who have never met Michael, how would you want him to be remembered, especially here in this community?
Well, I'm not uh from the Dallas area. I didn't know him personally at home, but I think people should remember Michael as, you know, exactly that, a God-loving, faith-filled family man who was a hard worker, and and was a light to everyone around him. I really think that's it.
Okay, and when you guys were together playing saxophone, so what was that like?
Oh, he was so much fun. We ended up getting our horns out at the airport here in Tampa, and we went into a little conference room, played saxophone together. He was really intrigued about like equipment and stuff, and so you know, us saxophone players, we could talk about gear and mouthpieces and horns for forever. And so me and him, like we just did that. We went into, a tangent talking about gear and mouthpieces and saxophone techniques, and I showed him a few things, and he's a great player. He was a great player. He posts online him playing like saxophone covers of worship music, and it's really beautiful, to hear him do that. And it really makes me kind of want to bring everything back, and follow in his footsteps, and bring it back to why we're here, and like God gave us this gift of music and flight, and you know um that's that's what it did to me playing with him. So